Hey guys, Rich here, and welcome back to another video and another diecast review. And this is a review that I've been really wanting to do for quite some time. And today I'm going to be talking about the new 1975 Plymouth Fury of the NYPD by Greenlight. And this is a car that I've been wanting to get my hands on for quite some time. This car, along with a few other ones. Now this is the box art. Now first off, the box art real quick. This is the box art that comes with it. This is part of Greenlight's Artesian collection, and it is a 1975 Plymouth Fury of the NYPD. And there's some good things to go over about this car, and there's a couple of things that I want to point out. Now overall quality, I'm going to say this car is a 4, at least a 4.5 out of 5. I'm going to give this car at least a 4.5 out of 5, maybe a 4.5 out of 5. This is overall better quality than what I anticipated, so let's go over a few things. First off, the molding for the car is really good. Greenlight really did actually do a really good job. Now first off, I'm going to talk about the cons for this car before I talk about the pros. The cons. Now there are a couple. Now the cons. Number one, this is part of their Artesian collection. The hood doesn't open, trunk doesn't open, the rear doors don't open. The only thing, the hood doesn't open, the rear doors don't open, trunk doesn't open. The only thing that opens are the front doors. And immediately there's a couple of minor details that I don't like. First off, with the Monaco and the Fury, the rear of the car here at the C-pillars should be a bit wider. The car should start widening out a little bit as it goes back, and it does not. Their 1/64 scale one does not do that either. It stays pretty much the same length. That is inaccurate because both the Fury and the Monaco and the Coronet, they should be wider here at the back than they are at the front. So that is an inaccuracy right there. They didn't do that. That right there is something that I don't like. Additionally, the rear end of the car sat a little lower than the front, and I can't really fault Greenlight for that because every diecast and resin car that I've got, the rear end has sat lower, so I've had to adjust them. Now another inaccuracy that some people will point out is that the tan interior on this car is inaccurate because the NYPD used either blue or black on their cars, and so the tan interior is not accurate. For me, however, I love the tan interior. I especially love them on these old Mopars, so yeah. So I'm not complaining about that. Another minor inaccuracy is the blue and white here on the C-pillar. It's flat. It's not curved. It should be just a little curved right here. Other than that, that's really the only other problem with that. Now, as far as the molding itself goes, Greenlight did put this whole front section is separate. You can see the line going down. That is so they can change. The body is the same on. The body will be the same on their up-and-coming Monacos and other Furies, but they added this line going across so that they can interchange this entire front piece. And the good news is it's flat. The good news is it's flat. It doesn't stand out like we saw on previous shots. And overall, the mold is really good. They got the headlights and the grills, I think, looking really good. Additionally, the tires are underneath the wheel wells. Now, the tires do have a pretty good thickness to them. Now, the only thing I don't like about the tires, there's one little thing I don't like about the tires. The tires do not have I'll show you. The tires don't have a bit of a squishy roundness to them on the edges. They're kind of flat. I don't like that really. I think the tires should have a bit of a roundness to them. They look a little sharp around the edges, as you can tell. But the tires are underneath the wheel wells, and here you can see the rear end is not wider than the front, as I described. Now the chassis is pretty basic, just a plain black chassis, so nothing really stands out. It does have the component for the single exhaust system, but the tires, they do not turn. Also, even though this is diecast, the tires do not rotate. They do roll, but they don't turn. Now, like I said, the rear end sets up a bit higher than the front, so what I had to do, I had to adjust that myself. by removing the screws from the rear end and adding a piece of Q-tip in the back to raise up the rear end so that it would stand out and raise it up a little bit more. Now, as far as the molding goes, now the roof line itself, one of my concerns was that the top was going to be too flat. Along the roof line right here, it was going to be too flat, but I'm actually surprised it actually does look good. It does have a nice roundness to it. I still think that this rear door line right here, that the top should be just a tad bit curved, but it's not a big deal. It does look good. The roof does have a nice roundness to it on the top, and on the rear end, another of my concerns was that the roof was not going to be round. Now, the roof line on these Monacos and Furies did have a bit of a curve to them right here. Now, right here, it looks a tiny bit flat, but it does have a tiny bit of a curve to it, but it's not highly present. Now, they did get the bumper guards on the front and the back of the car. They even put the keyhole on that. And they actually went as far, side marker lights, and it even has Fury written on the front fender tag, and it also has Plymouth written here. You can't really see it. It does have Plymouth written right here, which is really cool. Front bumper guards also do look good. Headlights look good. The grille looks good. The individual inserts do look good on it. The decals look good and accurate for the time period. Now, for the first time, we also got the realistic mirrors, the realistic side mirrors on the car, which is also really neat. And the only little and as far as molding goes, the body's good, like I said, -1 because the rear end is not wider than the front. However, everything else does look good as far as the molding goes. So yeah, I'm going to have to say it really does look good, and I was honestly afraid of what Greenlight was going to do. I was really afraid they were going to botch this car, but overall I got to say it really does look good. So let's go with, now, minor problems. There was a tiny bubble of paint right here. There was a tiny bubble of paint right here that happened with this right here, one that I have. Now, I'm sure not everyone is like that, but that did happen there. And now, the light bar that comes with the car, this is another minus right here. This is the light bar. It's the Mars or the Federal Visibar. Now, it comes with pre-drilled holes on the roof of the car, and it comes with the pegs, so you can set them down into it. Now, the problem with this is the lights, there's nothing to hold it, so they kind of wobble. There's nothing to hold them, so they kind of wobble, so you will probably have to put some glue on this. Now, it centers in the middle of the B-pillar. I am going to remove these pegs and position it a tad bit further. Now, they did get the rotator good, and the white soup can lights and the siren speaker are in fact accurate for 1975. However, the rear end does not feature the amber lights on the back. These should have been amber, but they didn't make them amber. Now the lights came packed separately. Now the lights came packed separately with the car, and the antenna, which there's a pre-drilled hole on the right fender here for the antenna, and the antenna is a simple metal rod that you can stick down in there. Now, sticking it in, you can kind of tell it's a little too tall. I'm going to leave it off personally, but overall, it really does look good, I gotta say. Now the minuses, like I said, for me, I am extremely picky whenever it comes to detailing for cars. And so if I say that this is a 4.5 to a 4 out of 5, I gotta say it's really good. Now, the only other thing that I might complain about is the slope of the hood. It looks pretty good right here, but it looks like it might begin to slope downward a bit too much for me personally right here. I think it should be just a kind of bit more straighter, but it looks like it has a bit of a downward curve right here. It's not really bad. Like, I have seen a lot worse. Neo did it with their 1/43 scale Monaco, but the shape of the rear end does look good. They did get the dog dish vented hubs, which is really nice, and the 6-slot vented blue wheels for it as well. And I do like the size of the wheels and the depth. It really does look good. Like, there's not too much wheel and there's not too much tire. It does look pretty accurate. But overall, I gotta say, it really does look pretty good, and I'm quite surprised with the detailing that Greenlight did do for this car. And like I said, for me personally, I was really afraid that Greenlight would botch the whole thing and really mess it up, but it does look period accurate. I mean, they even got the numbers right here on the C-pillar. And, oh, I have to tell you about the interior. The interior of the car, which is actually shocking for the detail. The interior itself is really, really detailed. Even going as far as to have the instrument panel and everything. It's got the brown wood grain on the inside of it, which is nice. You can also see the lever on the left side and the column shift. The inner door panels also look pretty good. I'm going to go over to the right. It's also got the vents on the top of the rear deck as well. And it does have both side mirrors on both sides, which is nice. And another thing that I have to point out is the depth of the tires underneath the wheel wells. Too many times you'll see these cars done and the tires will come out too far from underneath the wheel wells. Here they look good, they really do. But looking at the interior, you can actually see the old-fashioned Motorola radio in the floorboard. And yes, that is an actual CB. That is an actual little cord to emulate the old CB radio, which is mounted onto the dash. And you can see the wood grain. It's got the column. It's got the console, like the simulated leather interior. And you can see the grips on the steering wheel, as well as the column shift is featured. And it also has the rearview mirror. The vents on the steering wheel is also really nice. And another feature, of course, on the top of the steering wheel is the gauge. You can see the lifted section on top of this car to simulate the gears for it too. Now, of course, the hood, of course, don't open, trunk don't open, but they did really good with it, I gotta say. And it does feature the silver trim along this, which is nice. But yeah, and the interior door panel looks really good as well. And so yeah, unfortunately, not everything opens on this car. Now, another thing I have to point out is mine also featured a tiny bit of overspray on the top of the door with the blue here, but not really a very big issue. And you can see part of the interior door panel here appears to be popping out. Again, not a big issue. But it also features the rearview mirrors. The windshield wipers. They're just plain chrome. They don't feature the black. Oh, those are actually additional pieces. I did not know that, but they're actually separate little pieces. They're not like just made on there. That's cool. But overall, in terms of the overall mold for the car, I would have to say the car gets a 4 out of 5. Minus that 1 point because the rear end is not as wide as it should be, and I do think there's a tiny bit of a drop with the hood right here. And of course, minus because the rear doors don't open, the trunk don't open, and the hood don't open. Other than that, and the front tires, they don't turn, but that's okay. But overall, apart from that, the mold for the car really does look good, and like I said, I give it a 4 out of 5. And for me personally, like I said, I'm very picky whenever it comes to detail for these cars, and these have always been my favorite cars. The Fury and the Monacos, these have always been my most favorite police cars. And so to finally have this and see the detailing is really, really good. I'm still shocked to actually have this, and like I said, it really does look like a beast of a car. And the detailing for the rear taillights is also pretty cool, with the individual slots for the lenses and everything. Now, it doesn't have Plymouth written along the back of it, but then again, police was there, so I'm not sure if they didn't put that there. Bumper guards do look good, and like I said, the tires are underneath the wheel wells where they should be, without me having to adjust that. And I do love how they did put the curve on the rear door, because duh, it's a Fury and Monaco. These had the upward curve. And like I said, the roof does have the appropriate roundness. I would say the rear end does have some pretty good roundness to it. Now, if you really want to increase the accuracy for this car and the realism, there are just a couple things to do. But I will do that because I am planning on ordering another one of these, so I will make some modifications to it myself. But other than that, I gotta say, this is a lot better than I actually expected. I wasn't expecting much with it, so to actually have this and to see the detail that Greenlight did put into it, it really does look good. I am actually really happy with it. A lot more happy than what I actually anticipated. So, yeah, kudos to you, Greenlight. I am looking forward to how the rest of the cars look in the future. Now, I can't say this is perfect. No, it's not perfect, but it is really beautiful, and it does really look nice. So, I gotta say, I am happy with it, and like I said, now, I just now noticed there's a tiny bit of overlap with this right here. It does not look completely straight, but again, not really a huge issue. But yeah, I gotta say, I do give this a 4 out of 5. And for me to give this a 4 out of 5, that's good because I'm extremely picky. And there are a couple little issues with the car, but yeah, it can be overlooked. They're not big to stand out at you, but again, overall, I have to say it is pretty good. It is really good, actually. So yeah. So is it worth the $60-some you pay for it? Considering it is a sealed kit, or a sealed model, and not everything opens, I would probably have to say I really think that it could be sold for $20, $30 less. I think $29.99 would be a good price to pay for this, other than $65, which is about what I paid for it. But yeah, it does look good, and it is definitely a very unique piece to add to police car collection or NYPD collection. But yeah, I would give it a 4 out of 5. And is it worth the price? Considering not everything opens, there's no engine. No, it's not worth the $62, $65 I paid for it. But if it was a completely open thing, it would be. But is it good detail quality? Is it worth getting in general? I would say yes. It is definitely worth getting in general. It is definitely worth having. But that is my detailed review, hopefully, of the Greenlight Artesian 75 Plymouth Fury, and hope you guys enjoyed, and hopefully let this video serve as hopefully to help you decide whether or not that you want this car as well. So again, thanks you guys again for joining me. Hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video that I do. Take care.